Want to speak real Italian from your first lesson? Sign up for your free lifetime account at ItalianPod101.com.
Hello everyone, welcome back to ItalianPod101.com. My name is Daisy, mi chiamo Daisy, and in this video we're gonna talk about newspapers in Italy. I giornali. Giornale means newspaper, and it comes from the word day, so giorno. Giornale, in fact, kind of means daily. Giornaliero means daily properly, but giornale comes from giorno as well. Another way to say newspapers is quotidiani, or quotidiano if it's just one. Quotidiano also means daily, and that's where it comes from, because they come out daily. Quotidiani or giornali. Of course, there are also settimanali, so weekly, or mensili, so monthly, every month. What do they talk about? They talk about news, so notizie, and also cultura, culture, cultura. In fact, there are many categories, like for example, economics, economia e finanze, financial markets, politica, politics, or as I said, culture, so entertainment, spettacolo, or sport. Sports, which would be sport in Italian, just r sound makes it Italian. Sport, ambiente, environment, ambiente, and sometimes there's la rubrica di, so the column of, so some famous journalist or the editor himself or herself who writes what they want to write about, right? Something else that is part of the newspapers is la vignetta satirica, so the satirical comics. It talks about politics, most likely with irony. And of course, you can find them on paper, not only comics, but all newspaper in general, on paper, so su carta, on paper, literally. Or also we say edizione stampata, so printed edition, edizione stampata, because then there's also edizione digitale, so the digital edition, the version that you can find online, edizione digitale. There are portals, so portali, for news, which make it easier and faster, especially to get to the news. Most newspapers have both, anyway. Now, it's funny to notice how in Italian the editor is called direttore, so literally the director, direttore, the one who chooses what goes there and who can change pieces of journalists. But l'editore, because we also have that word editore, is actually the publisher. Brings and distributes newspapers in the edicola. Edicola is just one, edicole, plural, for newspaper kiosks. Now that you have a general understanding of Italian newspapers, let's look at the most famous ones, or better, let's say the ones with tiratura maggiore. So with the bigger circulation. Tiratura is circulation. Tirare literally means to throw. So tiratura is where it reaches, right? Tiratura maggiore or più diffusa, most extended. First one, Corriere della Sera. Actually, il Corriere della Sera. Corriere is literally the courier, so the one that brings things. Today is used in transports and logistics, for example. But it can also bring news. So Corriere della Sera, because it brings news at night, sera being night. It doesn't get out at night nowadays, but it did in the beginning, and that's where its name comes from. It was founded in 1876 in Milano, and its motto is La libertà delle idee. Ideas freedom. The freedom of ideas. La libertà delle idee. So lo slogan del Corriere della Sera è La libertà delle idee. Slogan, motto in Italian, same thing. Number 2, La Repubblica. La Repubblica. Obviously, it means the Republic. La Repubblica. Its headquarters are in Rome. It was founded by Scalfari, who was already editor of another newspaper called The Espresso. which I find really interesting as a name because it's both the coffee and also Express News, right? But anyway, back to La Repubblica. It's important because what was new about this newspaper is that the culture was central and not just like as a figure of speech. In fact, it was in the central page on the first page, while usually newspapers have the culture section on the third page. In the beginning, it was just 4 pages. All'inizio era di sole 4 pagine. In the beginning, it was of only 4 pages. All'inizio era di solo 4 pagine. But it's funny to notice how Mr. Mondadori was involved already in the foundation of this newspaper, and nowadays Mondadori is one of the biggest publishers for books. Numero 3. La Gazzetta dello Sport. La Gazzetta dello Sport. So, Sports Gazette. Gazette is Gazzetta. This one is particularly famous because it's pink. In fact, it says tutto il rosa della vita. Tutto il rosa della vita. All the pink about life. Because it's pink, as I said. But it hasn't been pink since the beginning. Actually, it was from number 27. But even before then, it wasn't white. It was actually green. And that's because it was cheaper than having it white, because paper needed to be washed. So if you had it green or yellowish or pink, in this case, it was cheaper than white. Why pink in particular? Because pink, that's what people say at least, is the shirt of biking, which was the most followed sport at that time. In fact, founded in 1896, it basically focused on bikes and horse racing. Ciclismo is biking, and ippica. I know it doesn't have anything to do with cavallo, but that's because Latin. The funny thing is that some of their journalists are actually ex-athletes. Alcuni giornalisti sono ex-atleti. Alcuni giornalisti sono ex-atleti. So you can have honest and genuine feedbacks. Numero 4. Il Sole 24 ore. Il Sole, the sun, 24 hours. 24 ore becomes like all together when you say it, 24 ore. This is basically a fusion between 2 newspapers. There was Il Sole and 24 hours. They became just one, Il Sole 24 ore, as I just said. And it's basically a newspaper for professionals because it talks about stocks, and financial things and taxes and everything that you need to be updated on daily. And it has a particular color, this one as well. It's color salmone. Color salmone. Salmon color, like pinkish, yellowish, in between. Number 5, numero 5 is La Stampa. La Stampa, literally the print, founded in Turin, Torino. In the beginning, the name was La Gazzetta Piemontese, so Piedmont's Gazette. Gazzetta is really used in this field. I think in the beginning it was just 4 pages, like other newspapers as well, and then went to 8, then to 10, and nowadays it varies between 100 and 200 every day. It also has the category Il Gusto, the taste, the flavor, so it talks about cuisine, about cucina, cooking, cucina, and like many other newspapers, it has a podcast as well. Of course, all these newspapers and others as well can have their own political views on things. And that's why it's always better to read even more than one newspaper, especially if you also want to be informed about the local stuff. In fact, there are many other newspapers which I didn't really talk about in depth, but just to give you some names that you may want to check out. There's also Il Messaggero, Il Resto del Carlino, Il Resto del Carlino, funny name, I know. Il Fatto Quotidiano, the Daily Fact, Il Fatto Quotidiano, Il Gazzettino, and then going local like Il Mattino or Torino Cronaca, again another one from Torino, and so on. There are plenty of them, and I'm sure you can find your favorite one in order to improve your Italian as well. E voi leggete I giornali? And you, Do you read newspapers? Voi leggete I giornali? Personally, I don't really. If I have to check for news, I go on the internet and then I read books. And I know this is a situation for a lot of people, but la carta stampata ha sempre il suo fascino. La carta stampata ha sempre il suo fascino. Printed paper has always its own charm, or charme, if you want to say it French. La carta stampata ha sempre il suo fascino. Or at least that's what we say. What do you think about it? Che cosa ne pensi? Let me know in the comments, and if you want to learn Italian in the fastest, easiest, and most fun way possible, remember to sign up for your free lifetime account on ItalianPod101.com. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye bye. Ciao ciao.
Want to speed up your language learning? Take your very first lesson with us. You'll start speaking in minutes and master real conversations. Sign up for your free lifetime account. Just click the link in the description.